Or do you close your business when it's the closing time? Pop quiz. When it's closing time, right? Still do the work. So even though nobody shows up in my store, it is still your duty to make sure you have inventory. It's still your duty to make sure everything is working. It's still your duty to hold space because someone might just show up. And when you hold space for your emotions long enough, as a practical thing, some things start showing up. You start realizing that confrontation and conversation I had last week, that's still with me today. That thing I encountered when I was a child, I didn't properly unpack that. See, these are things we don't get a chance to see because our lives are too busy. We fill it so much with duty and obligation and other people's problems. We don't get to see our problems for ourselves. So you gotta learn to get the habit right of holding space even if nothing shows up. And eventually something does. And when something shows up, honor it. Do not try to change your feelings into something that they are not. Honor them for what they are. We have a bad habit of trying to change uncomfortable feelings into positive feelings. And you can't do that. If I am angry, don't tell me to cheer up. Okay? I'm angry. Okay? If I am down, don't tell me to cheer up. I'm trying to. It's not working. And it's not working because we don't know how to focus and be present on the feeling. Now, like all emotions, once you feel your emotions, it leaves you. If you're struggling to let go of an emotion, you have not felt it properly. Okay? When you feel an emotion properly, it leaves you. Okay? So Roxy, I want you to think about a nice, beautiful dress. I know her personally, okay? Ladies, actually, I want y'all to think about wearing a nice, beautiful dress to an event. You got your face beat. You got your earrings to match your bracelet, to match your necklace. The dress complements the shoe. You are a neck breaker. You go to the event and you realize this event is a failure. All of this money and all of this effort put into how you look and nobody's there to see you. How do you feel taking that dress off at the end of the night? Any lady can answer that. Ain't nobody see you. You don't feel good. I almost feel like I need to do this again so that people could really understand how much of a blessing I am to their eyes. Right? Follow me. And once you feel that, once you get that validation that people say, wow, you look beautiful, you naturally can feel comfortable taking the dress off. That's the power of what happens when you put eyes on your pain. Okay? That's what happens when you focus on your pain. So let's dispel some myths. It is not negative to talk about uncomfortable things. Okay? We're not giving power to things when we speak to them. It's awareness. You know, we love to spiritualize that. Don't talk about that because you could give it power. No. We need to speak about it so that we can become aware of how this thing has played into my life. And once you speak to it, you can now see it, you can now deal with it, you can now feel it, you can now release it. And at that point, it's just being accountable to doing that as is needed.
Very good panel, very rich. Thank you, Dr. Evans, for your transparency. Here's my question. So I know confrontation, well, it's two-part. How does confrontation tie into forgiveness? At what point do you confront? Part two of that is, what if the person is no longer here that you're holding unforgiveness against?
So the first confrontation we have to have is the one with ourselves. Okay? And that's looking in the mirror. That's just simply being honest and truthful with what actually took place in your life. Now, here's a guiding principle I like to use for this. You need to have short-term confrontation with yourself to have long-term peace. That means if you really are focused on peace, you got to have those short-term engagements with your truth and your reality. Okay? If you have peace without short-term confrontation with yourself, that's a peace that you cannot trust. because it's a peace that was likely built in something else like avoidance as opposed to processing and dealing. So that's the first confrontation. The second confrontation now is, if possible, because it's not always possible to confront people, if possible, we need to understand that we are working to see if reconciliation is now possible and can take place. Because forgiveness is for one person. Reconciliation is for two people. You can forgive, but it doesn't mean that you are ready to reconcile. Okay? In community, this is where we need to be responsible. Some of us in our families and in our communities have pushed people back into dysfunctional, toxic, and abusive situations under the disguise that because you've forgiven, you need to be friends again. Okay? We push people back into the arms of abusers simply because we conflate that forgiveness means reconciliation. It is near impossible to release things in the same environment where the pain and the abuse took place. So that's why I was careful in my words. Sometimes it is not possible, right? And so to your second point now, we may have to learn to give ourselves closure in the absence of the other person. Okay? Closure doesn't mean that you're getting things your way. Closure doesn't mean that you're ideally going to hear the person that did you wrong come back to you and ask for your forgiveness. He threw a party because he was excited that he returned. That tells you the quality of where the Father was in his thinking. And a lot of us don't know how to manage ourselves while we're waiting for people to have an experience with God. But see, that may not happen in your lifetime. And so giving yourself closure is understanding that I can't change what happened. I cannot rewrite history. I have to learn to understand that people are motivated to do what they do for reasons that are unbeknown to me. And we got to learn to stop trying to understand why people do what they do, because it's going to lower our mental health every time it doesn't make sense. And if the only time we forgive people is when it makes sense, yet again, we will die. Okay? Sometimes forgiveness is going to seem irrational. Sometimes forgiveness is going to make you seem weak. Sometimes it's going to make it seem like you're enabling this behavior to happen again. But that is not true. Forgiveness doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. And you cannot let anybody gaslight you into going back into certain situations that has caused you harm simply because they lack understanding. So, we got to make sure that we understand confrontation with self is important. And we got to understand that sometimes we have to be the ones to give ourselves closure. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have come to the end of our conversation tonight. If you have any further questions, can you please write them? Do not put your names on them. And we will make certain that Dr. Thompson, should they put a phone number on it? No, should they put a phone number? No name. Should they put a phone number? Yes. They can. All right. If you have any questions, please do that for us. As I turn the microphone over to our moderator for the continuation of this evening, I thought Dr. Evans would